Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And today I'm reviewing a film that's currently in theaters. The movie I'm referring to is the 2025 film Locked, directed by David Yarovesky. So this one was actually really interesting in my opinion. It's always kind of iffy when you go into a movie that has a set location. Kind of like a bottle episode of a television series where everything that happens always happens in one location, like in one room of a house or in a telephone booth or in a car, for instance, like this movie. So here's the story for this one. We have our main character of Eddie, played by Bill Skarsgård. Now he's pretty down on his luck at the moment, and unfortunately, even gotten to a point where his ex-wife or girlfriend, along with his daughter, are not spending as much time with him anymore, and he's not doing as much as he really should be to make sure that he's getting enough time with his daughter. Now, Eddie is unfortunately hard up for cash, especially due to the fact that his van is broke down at the moment. So, to try and make some money, he goes around and potentially steals some stuff and then starts looking for a vehicle that he can potentially either steal stuff from or maybe even steal the vehicle itself. Now, eventually, Eddie does find a really nice vehicle that is unlocked that he manages to sneak his way into. But as he's rummaging around trying to see if he can find anything to sell off, he doesn't really get anything that would be helpful. So he decides it's finally time to leave the vehicle. Unfortunately, he does not have that as a choice. He quickly realizes that he's now locked within the car, and there's no way of getting out at the moment. The vehicle itself seems very reinforced, the windows seem completely shatterproof, and there seems to be no other ability for him to escape. Now, not too long into being trapped within the vehicle, a phone call starts to show up on the screen in the vehicle. Now, Eddie at first doesn't answer it, but eventually he decides to do so. And on the other end of this phone is William, played by Anthony Hopkins, who is notifying him of his fabulous car, which he has retrofitted with the best security possible to teach people a lesson. So now that he's got a captive audience here, William decides to start showing Eddie the features of his car, where he can make it as hot as possible, as cold as possible. It even seems to have tasers within the seat itself, and a couple of other interesting features. So, with William appearing to be a man of zero morality, will he ever feel that Eddie has learned his lesson and allow him to get out of the car? So, this movie ended up being way more interesting than I expected. One of the things that I did not expect at all was how much this was going to be a movie about classism. And that right there made me side with Eddie very quickly in this film. So you get some very different viewpoints within this movie. One individual who is very wealthy but had a terrible tragedy happen to him, and then another individual who has had a terrible life so far but really does want to get back to his family. So I do recommend going and checking this out while it's currently in theaters. And me, on my scale, I'm going to give Locked a 3 out of 5. Now, if you've already seen this movie, or if you go to see this movie and then come back to my video, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. And if there's other movies coming to theaters that you think I should watch and do a review for, also mention those in the comments as well.